In this Star Wars Jedi Survivor video, I will be answering your questions about the game. Thank you to EA for inviting me to play the game early, and that allowed me to ask for you to send in your questions to me so I could answer them for you about the game. And before we do get into them, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future news updates on Jedi Survivor. I want to give a massive thank you to every single one of you that did send in questions. There were more than I expected, and they were a lot of fun reading through. The ones I've selected are questions that I didn't answer in my previous impressions and gameplay video. A lot of them I already answered without having to specifically make this video, so if you don't have your question answered in this video, I probably answered it in my previous video. Nevertheless, I still appreciate it, and there are some really good questions that I hope can give some context and better understanding about the game. But without further ado, let's get straight into the first question. And it's asking about how common dismemberment was on stormtroopers. So when I was playing the game, I wasn't taking notice of the dismemberment. It's so insignificant to what I want out of a Star Wars game, I just didn't care. I did see it, but it wasn't every single time. I do think if it was more common, it will be more noticeable. It's not just the stormtroopers that have dismemberment, you will also see it with Bedlam Raider soldiers, along with Wampers and other creatures like that, so it isn't just limited to Imperial troopers. If you care about looking at that stuff, then you are going to see it, but for me, it wasn't a big deal, and it was just there. What alien species are in the game? Please say Whiphead. Unfortunately, I don't think I saw one of those. I just can't quite remember off the top of my head which ones are on the Trotterdome, the same species as Claude from The Rise of Skywalker. I will say, though, it's a massive improvement over Fallen Order. There are just so many NPCs. They all want to be your friend. You can just talk to them, and some of them are human. I'd say most of them are human, but there is a decent amount of aliens, which is really good. Literally every NPC I came across was friendly and wanted to either ask for your help or they just would trade things, stuff like that, so not a problem. They like you and you actually kind of feel like at home. Are there any clone trooper or stormtrooper outfits for Cal? I did not see any, but there is some armour that you can find. It's not clone, it's not stormtrooper, but there are cosmetic items that give Cal a little bit more of a military look. I will also say, if you're interested in clone armour, then Greaser's Cantina has several clone helmets, as well as weaponry across the building, so if you're a clone fan, then you're going to really enjoy that. Is the story as satisfying as the first game? As I mentioned in my previous video, I only played for about 4 hours, which was an hour into the game, so I only got to see towards the start of the game, but I did get a good idea as to where the story was going, and I had a lot of fun. I cared more about the story when I was playing than the actual gameplay, I would say, because it definitely lined up with some of my theories that I had for the game already, but went in slightly different ways than I expected, so I am happy with what I've seen so far. I just can't talk about almost any of it yet, because spoilers. Can BD1 do any other cool things? So I didn't really get to use BD1 much in those 4 hours. You have to set him down to activate and open a few things, but to be honest, his involvement was somewhat limited. Like, there's a lot of back and forth with dialogue between Cal and BD1, which is nice, but he doesn't do a whole lot. He does have this new visor mode, which allows you to scan far into the distance and set markers and things like that. Basically just a different sort of map. It works in tandem with the map system, but at this moment in time, those 4 hours played, BD1 doesn't do a whole lot. I would have liked to have seen more involvement, but maybe that will happen later down in the game. Was there just as much climbing in the maps? There were quite a bit of climbing. I also like how you can climb on the ceiling of certain rock faces, things like that. That's really cool. It adds a new element to the climbing. Are the different lightsaber stances balanced, or is one significant more OP than the rest, or vice versa? Unfortunately, I only got to use either the single blade, double bladed, and dual blades, because the blaster and heavy sword is much later into the game, I'd imagine. What I will say is that the double blade and dual blade were fun to use. I found myself using the dual blades more often because we didn't really get to use them much in Fallen Order. I didn't use the single blade because of that reason. I focused on these dual blades, and I really like the speed. Both seemed fairly even to me, but I didn't really spend much time focusing on that stuff. I was constantly changing up to try and get a feel of different parts of the game. Can you see the galaxy map? So, yes, I did get to see the galaxy map. I went into it, and the frame rate dropped to like 5 FPS. It was probably a bug, but it was completely broken. It's basically a big galaxy. You've got all the stars, nebulas, all that stuff. It looks fantastic in a hologram form, but the only planets available was Kobo. I actually went to the galaxy map to see what it looked like and if there were any planets that I shouldn't know about, but only Kobo was available, so I'd imagine, but there were spaces for other planets, so they will unlock as you progress through the story. What is the dialogue like? Are there choices that you can make, i.e. positive, negative responses? The dialogue is great. There is a lot of talk between Cal and BD1. It's just awesome. I think in the cutscenes as well, it's pretty strong. Some of the NPCs are a bit weaker, but I think that also stems to the facial animation. It's just not as good as, say, Cal's, probably because they didn't use all the full mocap. So that is a little bit of a disappointment because it's got such high quality for a character like Cal, and then some of the NPCs are just kind of generic. Having said that, I do think there is some really good dialogue, especially from the battle droids. You guys are going to love the droid speak. They have a lot of fun stuff, so you'll be happy with that. There is no choice that you can make with dialogue, it's all done for you. How did the maps feel to explore? Were they a bit cramped like before or more open? If they are, to what extent were they expanded? So we only got to play on Kobo, and that's the main planet of this game. It's the big sort of open world, and it's open, it's not cramped, it's just humongous. We only explored certain parts, but it's huge. It's bigger than anything else we've seen in Fallen Order. It's just got various biomes, it's got completely different terrain, it has areas that you don't expect to see. It feels like multiple Fallen Order planets in one, and it's definitely not cramped. There are large open spaces to just wander around in or fly about in. What is the biggest improvement you have noticed? Just the sheer amount of stuff that's in the game. The amount of assets is incredible. We now know just why the game is so big, like over 100 gigabytes in size, because they've packed in literally every corner something to find and could have a story tied to it, especially the buildings in the town of Rambler's Reach. It's just not only looking good, but it just makes you feel like you're living in the world of Star Wars, far more so than Fallen Order. That's my biggest improvement personally, because Fallen Order did a lot of things right, and they've just evolved the things a little bit that were good, and the stuff that wasn't so good, they've really improved. Fast travel is also really welcomed, but to be honest, I didn't really find myself using it too much because it was my first time playing, and I just wanted to check out all of the areas and just keep going around and seeing what else I could discover. Did you get to fly the Mantis? I did not. I really would like a mission where we are flying the Mantis in some sort of trench run scenario, but unfortunately don't know if that exists. The Mantis, for the time I played, was crashed. It had broken. You had to go and find repairs for the Mantis, so that's unfortunate, but it is coming back. Some people were worried that you're just going to crash it and leave it and you're not going to be flying it. No, you're going to fix it. Like, you literally go and get stuff to fix it with the help of Grease. So, fans of the Mantis, like myself, you're going to be happy. It definitely looks better in terms of the graphics, but it's pretty much unchanged inside and outside. It just looks a little bit older. I don't know about customization though. I couldn't see anything to do with that, which is disappointing. What I will say is there is more stuff inside the Mantis, so replacing the seeds or objects and things like that. Do you keep any of the lightsaber cosmetics from Fallen Order? I don't believe so, because I didn't spend much time customizing my lightsaber. I just wanted to rush through the story and get a good understanding of the gameplay and the story. But there are items from Fallen Order that are in this game. Not sure if you start with them or you just are easily able to find them early into the game. How do the graphics look? Well, you can see them right here. It's pretty good, but it's basically built on from Fallen Order, which already looked great. So it's not going to be the best looking game on these new generation of consoles, but it is better. It does utilise ray tracing. I don't exactly know which form of ray tracing because it just says ray tracing on or off. You can't choose either reflections, ambient occlusion, shadows, things like that. So the heavy compression of YouTube does make it look worse, definitely. It looks much better in person, so at the end of the day, the game looks fine. It's got much better than Fallen Order, specifically in the lighting. For the skill tree, how many were there? Well, there is 1 for each lightsaber stance, that's 5, and then there's force and survivability. I don't know anything how many bosses there are or just how long the game will take to beat. I played 1 chapter of the game and it took me like 4 hours. There were a few bosses in the form of creatures. Should you buy this game if you liked Fallen Order? Absolutely, because it's basically a much more improved version of Fallen Order with a story that seems pretty interesting. It's different, and that's good. So you get a different story with even more cool stuff that's just more improved. Do you know if the companions such as Merrin and Bode are customizable like Cal? I do not, unfortunately. It looks like they probably won't be. Can you use Force Choke or Force Lightning? I did not see any sort of dark side powers. Do the Who have another song in this one? I didn't hear it, but there is a jukebox in Grease's Cantina with a bunch of music tracks that you can purchase or find and stuff like that. I'd imagine that's the Who have some track that's going to be in there because Respawn have made a bunch of tracks for this game, so I can only imagine they're going to have one for the jukebox. Do you get to ride speeders like a Bantha? I did not see any vehicles that we could ride on. There weren't that many vehicles scattered around Kobo either, unfortunately. I would have liked to have seen a bit more, to be honest. Did you play it on Steam Deck or PS5? If Steam Deck, how does it run on Steam Deck? I mean, they definitely wouldn't have done that, an event, play on Steam Deck. And it wasn't on PS5, it was just on a high-end PC. Steam Deck support was not confirmed. They said it's not officially supported by Steam Deck. And I can understand why, because Fallen Order was a good showcase for the Steam Deck, but this game is far more heavy on hardware. I'm sure someone can get it running, even if it's really bad quality graphics. As a Steam Deck coder myself, I would have liked to have seen it on Steam Deck, but they're not going to show that until, well, until the fans get their hands on the game. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video, so let me know down in the comment section below. And if you did find this video insightful and learned something new, please do drop a like to help support the channel, and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. If you did miss any of my previous Jedi Survivor videos, which you probably did, click on the playlist on screen right now, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.